Hey guys, this is Jonathan McCormack. I'm an attachment specialist in New York. You can find me at attachmenthealinghelp.com. And usually I do things like parts work, ideal parent figure protocol. But I was reading Morgan Johnson, and she had a good article where she kind of summed up all the attachment science when it comes to intimacy, increasing intimacy, what it takes. And she kind of has 10 questions, and it's about physical intimacy. But of course, that's synonymous with emotional intimacy. So, and there'll be a meditation at the end to increase intimacy. So, her first question, if you're in a relationship or you're planning to be in one, is you can ask yourself, are you and your significant other emotionally attuning to one another? John Gottman at the big institute. The Gottman Institute is like the number one marriage person. It's like him and Susan Johnson. He created an acronym, attune. So A would be awareness. T, turning toward the other person instead of away. Tolerance. You have to tolerate. We all have our quirks and our wounds. We all have different perspectives. You have to tolerate that. Understanding. And for non-defensive responding. And E for empathy. The truth is, when you're very attuned with yourself and you're attuned with your partner, kind of everything else takes care of itself. A lot of the practices I do are very somatic, and they're one of the hardest things to explain to people, and that was hard for me to get through my head, was that understanding emotions, understanding my emotions will improve intimacy. Who cares about my emotions? I kind of know what I'm feeling more or less, but no, oftentimes we don't. Oftentimes we don't feel in the body. If we're very attuned to us, we notice what's happening. We all can get triggered by certain things, but if you're very attuned, you can kind of see that happening and take a step back. So I do a lot of I'll ask people, what are you feeling? And they hate it, they have to describe it. That's one thing about being secure, is being able to identify, feel the emotions. You feel something, identify it. A lot of times we're like, I feel good, not good. Let's go a little deeper, and then be able to articulate them to a partner. That's vulnerable, saying, I feel X, I feel Y. You're taking a stand. This is how I am. And that means I'm accountable, and I could be judged, and Morgan Johnson says this when people are like, how do I have better sex? She's always like, be more tuned to your emotions. And they're like, they're looking for like some kind of technique or something. But truly, when you're not tuned to yourself, think about it. It's like musical instruments. You're on the same wavelength. If you don't even know what you're attuned to, how are you supposed to really tune to the other person? What you can be tuning to is what you think the other person likes, and that will be a misconnection, a disconnection, A lot of times we're not attuned to ourselves because we don't feel at home with ourselves. We don't feel safe in our bodies, And this is like a conversation that you have with yourself, and then a conversation you have with your partner's body, and two of you are having this conversation. Sue Johnson, I'm a big fan of. She's like the other, besides Gottman. It's like Gottman and Sue Johnson, who's going to win. And they both have their own perspectives. I like them both. But Sue Johnson's great, and she has a lot of attachment stuff. And her books are great, and her programs. But she kind of says there's 3 types of sex, and this sex is what you're attuned to. There's secure, synchronous sex. This is when you guys are in sync. And that means you're very open to them, what you're in the moment. There's clear communication. For a lot of people, plays intimate stuff. That's something that's very difficult to talk about, very sensitive. But no. If it's secure, you really are in the moment, and you really are very open to communication. You express your needs. Oof, a lot of us don't even know what our needs are. A lot of times the first step, we're like, well, what are, people ask me, how do I set down this boundary? Oh, okay, a boundary for what? What do you need? don't know what I need. And they'll start talking about the other person. If you're more anxious, and this involves tuning into the other person, letting go, If their partners aren't tuned to each other, Sue Johnson usually refers that to sealed off sex or soulless sex. Those are like your two options. With sealed off sex, you're focused on performance, novelty, sensations, very goal oriented. Avoidance are like this, right? There's not going to be a whole lot of intimate risk with an avoidant. So there might be a lot of sexual risk, upping the ante. And avoidance, if you're talking about sex, I always tell people, forget about the orgasm, You're not going to give an orgasm. You're not going to, with your partner, to receive one. You're going to be with your partner. And you're just going to focus on pleasure. That's it. Forget about the orgasm. But avoidance, they're not really focused on you as a human being. They're focused on a task, And their task is to make you, or to perform well. It makes them feel good, and it makes them feel safe that they satisfied you, as a woman. And and they take all these courses. I see them, they're taking how to do this, how to do that, all these sexual techniques. They're big on that. That is thrilling, and it gets tired real fast, because all people really want emotional connection. They want, a woman wants you to have sex with her, not her body, which is fun, but her. That's great sex, With anxious people, they're very much into soulless sex, In other words, they get soulless. That means they get calmed. They get emotionally regulated. If an anxious person, you ask them, is the relationship good? If the sex is good and they're still having a lot of sex, then the relationship is good. That's how they gauge the relationship, That's and anxious people, obviously their version is different. It's not like technical and performance based. It's very snuggling. It might not be that passionate, that intense. It's very affectionate, and that's kind of how anxious people show up for that. The second question you can ask, Morgan Johnson says, is, do we talk about sex openly? Do you talk about that? Is it safe enough to talk about that, and why not? And also we have so much shame, and I understand that. But mostly people struggle up to discuss these things. The messages they've gotten are very complicated and contrary. So if you're not, you look at this question like, I never talk about sex with my partner. I never would, That's not abnormal. You're actually in the vast majority of people. That's fine. The reason I say this, though, is because there's a huge myth when it comes to sex, and it's that sex has to be spontaneous, or it's not real. Women will say that. I've heard that. We plan sex on Thursday, but that's almost like an obligation. He has to make, I have to. Boy, what a boring, stupid thing that is. That's not going to be passionate. No, sex is, but boom, I have it. Yeah, that is abnormal. To actually experience that, scheduled sex can be very passionate, very deep. With everything, you need planning, There are weeks when you're too tired. Both of you are tired, you're too overwhelmed. In an actual relationship, you do have to plan. That's normal. I get it that a lot of people get fired up by chaos. That's great. So when your life's chaotic, you're probably going to have the sex will be fire, right? When your life's chaotic or the relationship's chaotic, But as the relationship goes on, that's hopefully going to even out, and you're going to need to schedule. Actually have a schedule, And you're going to have to talk about it, and you're going to have to at least monthly check-ins, Sue Johnson's book, Hold Me Tight, is pretty good on all that stuff, The third question is, do you know each other's sexual breaks and accelerators? So this is discussed in Come As You Are by Emily Nagoski. And Nagoski, I'm going to do like 4 series on her, on that book, because it's very attachment based. But she addresses the dual response model of human sexuality. And that's basically you have an arousal, and it's like a break and a go, you know. Like it's kind of like an automatic car, you know. And everyone has a different sensitivity, you know. So if you feel like the sex is kind of stalled out, that's because there's a handbrake. Something has said, nope, stop. You know, do you know what those things are? Do you know what the things are? The gas pedal, you know. Because there's so many relationships that there's disconnection. They don't know how to get home to each other, you know. They know the accelerator sometimes. They ask them, like, oh, well, you know, what's the accelerator, you know, X, Y, and Z. And they do those things. But still, nothing happens. That's because they're unaware of the breaks. There are breaks. And what can the breaks be? Well, boy, they could be huge, obvious things like a past affair, you know. There could be a struggle with your body, you know, just at that time. And they're doing all the same. I've had women tell me, you know, boy, the sex is great, blah, blah, blah. And we're doing the same things. And I still love him. And da-da-da. Yeah, but you just had that operation. You just had a baby. You just had whatever. I don't know. I mean, how you feeling about your body? You know, that might be a break. Or like, did you really forgive him? But a couple weeks ago, you caught him like talking to your sister or something like that. But, oh yeah, I forgave him. Really? You know? So you might know all the turn-ons, but you also have to know what's going on. And you have to know that by yourself, you know? For breaks for guys, it could easily be like getting ringed by the boss. It could be losing your job. It could be some public humiliation. You have to be aware of that. And guys will say the same thing. Like, I don't know, it's just the desire's just gone. I don't know. She's doing all the things that turn me on. That would. But she just, well, look at the rest of your life, you know. We're actually human beings in relationship with the world. So I would actually do this. I would make a list. And you don't have to go on and on and on and read all these books I mentioned. Just make a list and have 2 columns and just write your breaks and your accelerators. Right? I mean, wouldn't that make things clear and easier if you actually knew your partners? You just sat down, and that's a hot evening. That's a fun date, you know? You just write it down, the thing turn on and the turn off. So you might be surprised. You might be surprised what you realize about yourself, but also your partner. And then you talk to each other about, like, oh, really, this is a turn off. Oh, yeah, you told me, man or woman, you told me your boss made you work all those extra hours. And I remember that night, and I just thought you were mad at me. But okay, I get it, you know. I mean, that's about the communication. The 4th question she poses, you ask, is, do we appreciate how important context can be for desire? That's kind of what I'm talking about. And Come As You Are, that's kind of a big part of it. You know, I think this is quite obvious, but believe me, people bought that book, Come As You Are. It's got thousands of rave reviews. Some good stuff in there. Some good stuff. I'll review it. But one of the things is, you know, it's context dependent. I can't believe people didn't know that. People are like, no, I have a body, I do this with it, and I feel this way. What's going on in your life? Well, that doesn't matter. I have a body, and I do. And women are just completely disassociated from their own sexuality, you know. This is the thing. To have great sex, you have to feel safe and relaxed. Safe and relaxed, you know. Plenty of women tell me, I've never had an orgasm. That's not unusual. That's not strange. But they're wondering why. I don't know. But one thing to look for is, do you feel very safe and very relaxed? And, you know, do you know that this person is there for you, can accept all of you? Do you feel very secure in that relationship? And also relaxation. You know, that's why there's always that 20-20 rule. You know, you spend at least 20 minutes in foreplay, and then another 20 minutes building up to the penetration. You know, that's you know. I'm a repressed Irishman. I can't go too much into that. That's kind of top secret knowledge, you know. You have to pay extra for that. But that's like the 20/20. It's like 40 minutes. Why? Because women have to feel very relaxed, you know. And if you're not, the women will move away from things. Move away. Okay? So the point is, and this is true with the whole relationship, and IFS, I have a little training in that. Talk about getting to self-energy. What does that mean? Well, that means when you're very confident, conscious, but curious. So curious. And any relationship, if you take the stance of curious, you will win. I don't mean like over your partner. That relationship will win. It'll win out. Because, think about it. The partner says, thanks for helping me with the groceries. I guess I can't count on you. Obviously, you're going to be triggered and be like, oh, my Lord. But I said, be curious. Oh, you wanted me to help you with the groceries. Did you want me to help you with the groceries? Be curious, And it might not even be about the groceries, but you're genuinely curious. And they might be like, yeah, but also last night you didn't do da-da-da-da. Again, now, you wanted me to do X, Y, and Z. You're genuinely curious. If you can come from a curious perspective, and that's true with sex, that's true with everything, then that relationship will be solid. The repairs will be very easy. And just about that desire has to be spontaneous. No, there's spontaneous desire. There is that. And then there's responsive. When you set the scene, set the mood, ease into it, spend some time massaging, talking. That's responsive. That's what you really have to go for. I mean, spontaneous is great, but it's rare. And come as you are. She actually says that about 30% of women and about 5% of men experience sexual desire as pretty much responsive. Only 5% of men. 15% of women and 75% of men experience their desire as spontaneous. 75 men. That means like, boom, it just got to happen. That's how they experience it. And that's probably because, for a lot of reasons, but also they're not setting up everything. Spontaneous sex, you don't know if she's feeling safe. You don't know how her day was. You just don't know, and you can't expect it either. And usually the other depends on the context, So, you've heard this before. They go on vacation, or things get better, because it's like new, and they can feel spontaneous there, because it's safe. It's away from the world. Then they can feel spontaneous, Well, yeah, but you can do that, by the way. Rent a hotel room, rent a room, once a month. Just go someplace special, bed and breakfast, something like that. Oh boy, I've done. You can just rent, whatever, the rooms out, just for the weekend, things like that. So that can help. And you talk about context. You talk about the context, your ideal context. Like, this is my dream scenario. My dream scenario for sex is that we wake up, we have breakfast, we go for a walk, we go dancing, then we do this. That's just kind of my dream scenario, X, Y, and Z. And then you see if you can kind of reproduce that on a decent, budget level. The fifth one is, do you practice rituals of connection? That's what John Gottman calls these things, is rituals of connection. Well, those are little things, but they're very important. Things like breakfast, date night, and the all-important 6-second kiss. Yeah. So rituals of connection are just ways of turning toward the other person, just shared experiences. You can tell a lot how a relationship is, little things. When a relationship specialist, look at couples, one couple will be like, oh, hey, honey, look at that bluebird. And the other bird goes, yeah, I relationship's probably in trouble, because you have to be able to share those small little experiences. That was like a little ritual. Hey, look, something I find beautiful that I would like to share with you. You have to be responsive to that. And you can set up things. No, we're going to eat breakfast every day together, or whatever it is, There's date night. The 6-second kiss is pretty interesting, because relationship experts, they found that just by extending your kiss to 6 seconds, not that, bye honey, I'm going to work, peck on the cheek, then boom, you're out. That has huge benefits to a relationship. It causes oxytocin, dopamine, but a quick peck, not so much. It's just doing that. That's such a simple thing you can do. It can help, Another thing is, a lot of times both people are working and they feel very disconnected from each other. You can actually have 2 appreciation jars. Just things you bring. Oh, I came home and the bed was very nice. Oh, I came home and this. Oh, just the other night I heard you X, Y, and Z. Oh, I was just thinking how much I love your soft skin. Hey, I was just thinking what a great mother you are. Hey, the other day I was just thinking, whatever it is, guy and girl. And boy, to come home and to open that up, even though you haven't seen your baby girl or your man, well, that feels good. They are thinking about me. Even if you don't get to connect. I know it's so hectic today, Another thing is that you could tell people for a month, just 4 weeks, you can experiment with rituals. You can request, ask your partner, and you make one request yourself for one ritual. Simple but meaningful. And it really can be anything. A great one would be one if you can do it daily. Daily rituals, they do pack a lot of punch, and John Gottman calls them takeoffs and landings. So that means a little ritual in the morning, and then one of reuniting in the evening. You separate in the morning, whenever you or both of you go to work. You come home at the evening, and that's kind of stop the world, and you hug and kiss each other, say some sweet words. And I know this sounds simple, but when you connect this twice a day, on most days, it can really strengthen the bond. Time together is just so essential. The guy John Gray from Men Are From Mars, one of the things is when he walks in the door, the kids jump all over him. He might hold them, hug them, grab them, but he goes right to his wife first and gives her a kiss. She's number one, and she knows it. And then he, handles the kids. But it could be something simple. Every morning I'm just going to give you a kiss and say these words. By the way, I just love X, Y, and Z. In the evening, same thing. It could be anything I was thinking about you today. I was thinking X, Y, and Z, whatever. Very simple, but it's a chord, it's a connection, because actually something happens when we separate and when we arrive. Primal peoples were not that separate, and it's unnatural. Number 6 is the it's about what you're aiming for during intimate time. Are you trying to each have an orgasm? That seems like a lot of what happens. Well, women only orgasm 20% of the time. Only 20% of women orgasm with penetration. So there's not going to be a whole lot of that. You're going to have to get tricky. And so a lot of times women aren't going to have an orgasm. That's perfectly fine. You can have a wonderful relationship with few or little or no orgasm. That's perfectly fine. But when you make that even an unconscious kind of contract, or you finished, boy, that's just too much pressure. That's anxiety. That's performance. Of course she's going to fake it. Women fake orgasms. Men fake relationships. It just happens. Barry McCarthy is pretty good if you want to check him out. So he has this focus on shifting gears. And he's like, hey, move around from this all or nothing. If I didn't have an orgasm, that really wasn't sex. That was bad sex. That was a failure. No, not really. I mean, one of the things you can train yourself if you're a guy is not to ejaculate. I've done that, but a lot of times the women feel bad, like they want that, to know that they provide that for you. But if your girl's fine with it, it saves a lot of energy. It saves a lot of energy, and you really, but with women too, you don't have to. Allow women relax when they realize I'm not going to go into this relationship tonight to get an orgasm. I'm going to go there to be with my partner. A lot easier. And it's pleasurable. Just focus on the pleasure. So Barry McCarthy suggests there's 5 gears of touch. And you want to switch to we have sex, have orgasm, forget about that, to this. There's the first gear, affectionate touch. And this goes on hugging, holding hands, kissing, and avoidance. You'll have to tell them to do this, and you have to say, setting boundaries, so I need you to hold my hand from it. I love it when men hold my hand, or if they do hold your hand, man or woman, whatever, you can later just say, earlier when you held my hand when we walked, I really like that. Just point it out. So you're making requests indirectly, and yeah, it's great if you can do it directly, but sometimes we have a lot of anxiety, and so that kind of make it easier, The second gear is sensual touch, nothing on the naughty bits, and that can be clothed, just sensual touch, really sensual, back of the head if you're cuddling on the couch, watching TV, some kind of trust position, safe, you're just cradling each other, just smoothing, just on the couch watching TV. The sensual touch is absolutely integral to healthy sexuality. The third gear is playful touch, a little tickling, a little, whatever. And that can happen in the shower or the bath. That can be a massage, be during dancing, And what makes that fun is it's fun. It's pleasurable, but it's playful. It's unpredictable. You don't know. Remember when you first, giggling. That's just valuable in itself, And the fourth gear is the erotic touch. And this is not that we're not talking about intercourse, but sexy touch, and make it creative, not, I'll do a video on that, but erotic touch, it can be mutual, just mutual touch. It can be one way, and then you can touch the naughty bits and all that, but if you are, again, you're doing it to feel your own pleasure and to watch their pleasure. You're not trying to give an orgasm, And the fifth gear is intercourse. So the thing is, this is not pass or fail. Like, you cannot do intercourse wrong. So that's the first thing. Like, okay, we're going to initiate it, and if it turns to orgasm, it was good. That's good sex. Absolutely not. You can have great sex without an orgasm. Good Lord, and afterwards, a rest area. If you're going to do this, you can share your needs ahead of time, right? A little space before time. Agree and just talk about it. I know it's not spontaneous, but that's a good idea. And afterwards, when it's over, you have this rest space where you kind of just talk to each other, hold each other, stroke each other. And I can tell you, for a lot of women, this is the best part of sex, or damn close second anyway. Depends on your man. But this is when you kind of open up. The seventh is, do you show affectionate? Do you do affectionate touch during the day? Do you snuggle? It depends on who I'm talking to, but a lot relationship people talk about it. So it sounds so silly, but a cuddle puddle, a cuddle puddle. In other words, like once a week at least, you should be cuddling up with each other. It could be having a bath together, no orgasm. Remember, we're just, it could be at any time you can do physical closeness, rent a movie just so you can snuggle up to each other. Your goal is to make contact and to be together. That's the goal. Any opportunity for physical closeness. If you're going to the grocery store together, hold hands. For avoidance, they wouldn't even think of this, but I'm just telling you to do it. Hold hands. If you're standing in line, if you're eating meals, can you sit closer together? Do you eat meals together? Even quick little things, because the little things in relationships are never little. Because a relationship repeats and becomes a habit. So you can stack up these little moments of affection. I believe if a woman gets 7 strokes a day, like her cortisol levels drop, and I've told guys that, and I've done it, and guys will tell me, like, they don't tell the girl, but literally like, oh, right, the 7 strokes, and they come up behind her, hey, honey, how's it going? And in their head, 1, 2, 3. Those little things relieve stress for her. And if you're a guy and you're thinking, why should I do this? If you're an avoidant, kind of still getting in touch with his or her emotions, do it because the sex is better. The more relaxed they are, the better the sex will be. Touch, regulating each other. Now, sometimes people have an aversion to touch. If there's trauma, or if you're very avoidant, you're afraid that touch will feel too intimate, a lot of avoidants will have aggressive, passionate, animalistic sex, and then feel very uncomfortable with very tender moments, or making real love. They feel very uncomfortable, and they get overwhelmed. And that these are things to resist. I know partners that put pillows in between themselves, to divide the bed, or they change in a different room, X, Y, and Z. Well, change in the same room. These are little tiny things. Get rid of those pillows so bodies can touch. The 8th thing, if you want to increase intimacy, in sexual intimacy especially, is do you verbally show appreciation? Do you adore? The marriage vow, do you promise to adore? Wow, adoration. And women do need to be physically desired, to be adored, and to be known that they're your special one. So there's something you call the 5 A's for this. And you can use words or actions, okay? But you're going to practice these. Admiration. You can tell them how much you admire. You can show them in a way. Adoration is how much you adore them, right? Affirmation, affection, and appreciation. Gottman did all these tests. So one of the things he found are like for every 1 critical negative thing a partner said, they had to have at least 5 positive things they said about the other person daily. So if you get the 5, affirmation, I just love that, whatever, that skirt. Affirmation, you're doing a great job. I just want to say I appreciate it. Men need this, period. If you get into a lot of fights with men, I bet you one of the things that can turn down the conflicts by 80% is if you appreciated him verbally, explicitly. The number 1 reason for divorce is, of course, fighting over money. Why? Why that? Well, a lot of reasons, but one of them is because anytime you bring up money, that's going to trigger a man. Because he's like, oh, you don't appreciate me. I'm a failure. I mean, it is just hardwired, and I can explain why evolutionarily this is. And this is something women don't understand, and they ought not to. There's so much about women that men don't understand. I mean, a lot more. But, in the world, for thousands of years, you had to prove yourself when you turned 13, when you became a man. You were separated from women. You had to show perseverance. Why? Because you have to catch more meat than you eat. You have to be useful. Or else a lot of people die and starve to death. There's no welfare system. You have old people which can't hunt. You have many women who have a million other things to do. It's hard to hunt when you're pregnant. You have young people that are too young to hunt. So if you're 13 and you can hunt, I mean, what happens if you can't persevere? You can't keep up. You can't produce that meat. Well, people do starve, and I read all the time that they'll be having a family, and the littlest one, they'll have to ditch in the woods. There's just not enough food. It happened all the time. Still happens some places. But this is why men are like so caught up in the worth. And as you know, you say man up. You're not man enough. You don't say female up. No, a woman gets puberty and she can have a baby. Boom, she's a woman. Men constantly have to prove their manhood. Of course they do. Manhood is the one thing. And most men have no initiation. What, having sex, driving a car, that's not initiation. An initiation into manhood. No. And usually they're not separated from the women. Most teachers are female now. Most therapists are female. And they rarely are around men, period. So if you notice that most men are more like boys, and there's all these articles a couple years ago, where have the grown-ups gone? Where are the adult men? I don't feel like I know a single adult man. They don't feel like they're adult. Yeah, it's good. They need this. Then you can get as creative as you like with the 5 A's. Love is a verb. It's not something you feel, something you do. It's action over time. It's not something you say, it's something you show. Even when there's hard times, when there's smooth sailing. And a lot of times you might not know. This is great connection. Ask, how do you like to be adored? How can I show my appreciation? I'm telling you, ladies, if you regularly appreciate your man verbally or however he liked it, you could so much easier talk about these money issues or anything else, as long as you feel safe, Otherwise, it's kind of a losing gambit. It's one of those super, just like, women. I remember I rented a movie where the woman was, Belioso, a beautiful Italian film, but the woman was an artist. It's about an artist. And the woman was a gorgeous model, like 18 years old, perfect body. The film's over 4 hours long. She was naked the whole time, And boy, the girl I was with got very upset at me. It's like, this is what you rented? And boy, I think it's a beautiful film. I was like, of course. It's like, so I can stare at the perfect body. She was really triggered. And I didn't get it. I was like, so what? She was beautiful. Jeez. It's one of those things that you have to realize, no, you have to, it doesn't matter, she should be super mature, but no, and men too. It's just packed into us, Of course, I'm talking generally, these are big generalizations. So asking your partner what they need, and that's always evolving. They might come up with things, and that's fun to explore different ways to feel adored, And there's also, you can do the love languages, a little old school, the 5 love languages, not so bad. So the number 9 is, do you feel confident? And do you find joy in life? People who are connected intimately are able to focus on their own pleasure, as well as their partners. Anxious people, not so much. So many times I want to ask, I ask the anxious person, well, what do you want? It's hard to tell, because I think he wants me to, or she wants me, whatever. What do you want, Psychologists use this term, you've heard, sexual ruthlessness. And by that, you'll see that in all the literature. It just means tuning into your own pleasure. Healthy relationships, they have autonomy and unity, So it's important each partner can spend time alone, You want both. That's what secure attachment is. You can connect with someone and get needs met and also be on your own. And oftentimes, we talk about attachment, so I talk often about get close, get close, get close. But equally, especially if you're in a long-term relationship, healthy relationships balance that. And a lot of times another partner is going to need alone time to feel resourced, to decompress. If you're an avoidant, you're going to need a lot of alone time. And you ought to be very upfront. Like, here's some of my needs. I need a lot of time alone. If she's anxious or he's anxious, that's not going to work out, because they need a lot of affirmation daily, you know? So sometimes sex suffers when partners get too close, you know? They have no separate activities. I just asked a girl, I was just talking to a girl, and I go, oh, I think my friend would be perfect for you, blah, blah, blah. Her first question was, does he have friends? I was like, why, you know? She goes, because, like, the last guy I was with had no friends, and, like, I was his entire life. And she's not avoidant. She's had long-term relationships, but even she can see how it can get very enmeshed, you know? You have to have your own separate life, you know? That can be difficult, you know? Another big difficult thing it is walking around with wounds, and we all have them. Confident, well, I mean confident also in your body. I did one video where I got half naked and I took off my shirt, and I have all this loose skin because I used to weigh a lot. Oh boy, and that's I actually don't care at all, but it can be very embarrassing, and I've got no complaints, but boy, it doesn't look great, you know. I try to work out and blah, 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 blah. And women have incredible issues about this stuff, you know. Emily Nagoski in Come As You Are, this is actually pretty evidence-based. But she's like, no. If you sense something going wrong with your relationship, yeah, again, a lot of women are like, I don't know, it just boom, just the sex, just what happened. Well, maybe your relationship to your body changed, say for a guy, you know. So she says, take a running list of things you like about your body, even if it's short. She writes that she's told a woman to do this, and a lot of times it's one thing, like, I like my eyes. You know, I have sexy elbows, I don't know. And that's fine, just start there. And mindfulness. I mean, I hate to say this because it's such a buzzword. You know, everyone talking mindfulness, it cures everything. But it does. There's a book even called Mindful Sex. It's not a very sexy book. I read it. It's just about basically about the science of how mindfulness, because it helps you get in your body. It can do the opposite too. But if you do, especially somatically, it helps you get in your body, helps you be present to your emotions, to your thoughts, breath. Yeah. For men, especially if you start feeling fearful, you know, during sex, it's starting to go in, and you're like, oh, it might not go up, you know. It's important to just keep breathing evenly. Because when we get fearful, we start breathing shallowly, and then when shallow, the blood doesn't get pumped where it needs to go, and that just makes the problem worse, you know. So, if for nothing else, practice mindful breathing, and it can help you keep calm too, you know. And by the way, if it doesn't work, that's fine. Like, who cares? I mean, who cares? You know, I'm at it, you know. But, and the last one, number 10, that she has, Morgan Johnson, is, have we co-agreed on rituals for initiating sexual activities? But a lot of couples, I just talked to a woman, and she was like, well, how do you guys know you're having sex? So what happens is, her man comes home and showers, and then she knows he wants sex that night. Not rarely, and she's cheating on him. So it doesn't surprise me, you know, that she would do that. Of course, she blames him. I'm like, well, you know, you have to take some responsibility. Well, it's his fault for not keeping you satisfied. Well, okay, you know, both. I don't know. Well, why blame anyone? But it's, you know, the point is that they're not being, and she's like, thank God it's not very often. But boy, that's awful. I mean, you guys don't even talk about things. If that's the case, emotionally, you guys got to be pretty disconnected. So, the other thing that can happen is very boring rituals, you know. A lot of times people have these initiation sequences that are awful. I mean, you have to talk about this initiation. You know, is this what turns you on? Is this how you like to it? You know, when it's time. It's very sensitive though. So Susan Johnson recommends to write out first before you tell your partner. Write down your kind of ideal sexual scenario, you know. And she says, well, you can do this for each other, which would be really fun, you know. And you can name, she says, name the manual for the lover of Jonathan, and they share that, you know. And it's fun. It's fun. Sex should be fun. That's what it should be about. And that's a great tip. A lot of times people have these rituals that are, I remember this one couple, they showed me, to make sex more excited, they were into the bondage stuff, which I think is ridiculous. I have no idea why that's sexy. If you dress like a clown, I don't know. That probably would be equally bad, I guess. But I don't, how do you not laugh? But anyway, so like, you know, they videotaped it, and I'm watching them, and they're just like slowly putting on these leather things. It takes them like 40 minutes to put these things on. I've never seen something more draining, more devoid of eros. You know, like, that's what you guys do, you know, because it takes forever to put that stuff on, you know. And it's like then sex for like 5 minutes, and then like, you know, another 40 minutes taking it off. It's like, oh my Lord, you know. So, and it doesn't matter if sex, Morgan Johnson kind of estimates that sex needs to be mutually satisfying, not mutual orgasms, mutually satisfying, right? Pleasure for each. Has to happen around 70% of the time. You know, you both enjoy it. And that means, though, 30% of the time it's not going to be shared evenly at all. You know, if there's a way that you like to initiate sex, you're going to have to make that conscious and intentional. And you're going to have to talk about it, you know. And even though it's uncomfortable, I know it's uncomfortable, the other thing you have to talk about is declining sex. Oof. Because that's going to happen, you know. And believe me, this is not devastating, but this is hurtful to a man. Why? Because you have it, the thing we want. It's right there. It don't take so long. We're talking 15 minutes. And you can give it to me anytime. If you loved me, I know you would give that to me. I mean, come on. If your favorite thing in the world was chocolate cake, and I had a slice of chocolate cake, and it was left over, and I didn't know what to do with it, wouldn't you feel a little insulted if I didn't offer you that cake? That doesn't mean you need to acquiesce to every man's. That's not what that means. I'm just showing how kind of a man's perspective is. So that means you do decline. But you could say something like, how you do it is really important. You're like, oh, positive. I love having sex with you, you know that. But I'm really tired tonight. And then, I love you. Something so simple as ending it with, I love you. Make it go down real smooth. You know, in other words, like, you can reach out again, because I love you, you know. And you can ask, what do you need? Ask, what do you need if there's ever a time I'm not in the mood for sex? I'm telling you, relationships are pretty easy. It's about being secure. What do you need? You know, because Shirley, I mean, we're tired now. I've turned out and said, you know, I'm just tired. You know, she's all over me, and I'm like, girl, please, I'm tired. You know, but that doesn't work. Don't say, girl, I'm tired. You know, but when I'm tired, I say things like that. I don't think. So, what do you need when you're going to turn down to feel soothed? What do you need? You know. So those are the 10 questions. I think that's very good. I think that's a good relationship checklist. I also think if you're not in a relationship, those are like 10 things that you can have in mind to be intentional. You want to date intentionally. You want to know, like, you know, there's like 4 stages of falling in love. And there's a way to do it. You know, you at least want to know these things, you know. So I'll do a little meditation here, just on accepting intimacy. I'm going to start with the body scan. Now I just invite you to get into the meditative posture with your back straight but loose and your feet firmly on the ground. Good. And I'm just going to start with 3 deep breaths. And you can take a super deep breath. Hold it below the belly. And slowly release. Good. Now we're going to take another super deep breath. Hold it below the belly and slowly release. Great. Last one, super deep breath. Hold it below the belly and slowly release. Great. And now I just invite you to do a quick body scan, and you can focus your awareness on your forehead. And most people don't notice their forehead, but you can just focus there, give a little loving intention, notice any stress. Then move your awareness down to the eyes, softening the eyes, softening the muscles around the eyes. Then down to the cheeks, softening the cheeks. Then down into the jaw, softening the jaw. Loosen the jaw. Then a wave of warm, loving awareness moving down the neck, into the shoulders, moving down your back, down your spine. Just a wave of loving warmth moving down your torso. Moving down, down, down. Loosen the belly. Loosen the hips. Wave of warmth rolling down your thighs, down your calves, all the way down to your feet, firmly planted on the ground like roots of a tree. Great. And now you can just focus on your breath, inhaling and exhaling. And I'd invite you, in your mind's eye, I'm seeing a white door, and you're standing in the corridor, and it's got a silver doorknob. I want you to open that door. Yes, and walk into that room. That's right. And on the window, with beautiful sheer curtains blowing slightly from the warm wind, there's a bed. A fabulous, fluffy white bed with linen. And just gorgeous white walls, white thick shag, white carpet. And you walk into that room, and you take off your clothing. Just take off your shirt, blouse. You take off your clothing, and you lay on the bed. And you notice on the bed are some thin, white, beautiful pajamas a sheer nightie, whatever you prefer. And you just slip those on. Yeah. And then you slide into the bed. Put your head on the pillow. And you can feel the breeze coming in from the window. See the curtains moving. It's a beautiful, warm summer day. It's getting dark. And you can hear the sounds of the day winding down. And you're getting into bed early because, it's gorgeous. Yeah. Just a gorgeous feeling. And also a gorgeous person is coming to join you. This person can be imaginary or real, but it's a person you communicate really well with. A person that you love the way they look, love the way they smell, love the way they move, just love the way they dress. Let's just take a deep breath in and slowly release. And you're just laying in that bed, just enjoying, relaxing, knowing that very shortly they're going to come through that door. Yeah, you're just laying in the beautiful white sheets, fluffy pillows. And now you hear the doorknob turn, but your eyes are closed, and you just listen. And you hear someone come in, and you're listening, and you hear the sound of someone getting undressed. Yeah. And then you hear them putting on their own pajamas or whatever, just slipping them on, and they slide into bed next to you. And you can smell them. This wonderful, mesmerizing, intoxicating smell. It's your favorite aftershave, your favorite fragrance. And you smell that beautiful, gorgeous smell. And we're going to take a deep breath. Hold it below the belly and breathe out. And you can feel the warmth of their arm. You can feel the warmth of their side and their leg. And their body moves closer to you. And just to feel that warmth and feel the connection. Perhaps in your mind you just slightly open your eyes. And you can still feel the wind coming in through the window. And you're both under the covers. And you feel this real sense of connection. Feel a real sense of warmth. And you feel a real sense of affection. And a real sense of how wonderful this is. And how attractive you are. And how attractive they are. Internally, not just externally. And you just sense this beautiful radiance. And you sense this peace. And you sense just a lovely, lovely, lovely connection between you two. And you breathe in deep. Hold below the belly and release. And now you're spooning. Perhaps you're behind them, but you choose your position. And you can just feel this person in front of you. Their back against your chest and your body. Your arms wrapped around them. You can feel their body breathing in, breathing out. And you can just enjoy that moment of closeness. A moment like feel you're coming home and feel connected and feel loved. And you can even say to yourself internally, I am loved. I am wanted. I am supported. I am worthy. I am secure. And you can just say this after me. You can say, I am loved. I am wanted. I am supported. I am worthy. I am secure. And now you just breathe in. Hold for a moment and release. And you just stay in this space, soaking up this feeling, connected to this physical and mental connection. And you just notice and enjoy all the senses. And you notice the smell. You notice the touch. And you notice the warmth. And you just enjoy all that. And there's such peace. There's such connection. And all the longing is gone. And all the neediness is gone. And all the pressure of waiting is gone. And you've climbed the mountain. And you're at the top. And you're thinking, thank goodness I've done it. Thank goodness I've done it. And you're just staying in that bed, window open. And there's a breeze on both of you. And you're just enjoying a quiet, intimate, loving, beautifully connected moment. Yeah. And you can make a deep, deep impression of that. And I would just point out that you can bring up this feeling anytime, because it lives in your body, and your body remembers. And now, having all the time you need to make this a part of you, I invite you to start coming back, backing up, coming back, and when you're ready to be present and here, your eyes can open. Eyes open, you're here, present in the now. Anyway, I hope you guys dug that. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them. It's Jonathan McCormick.